Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Seaside Chats with the Salve and Mit Guy. I am the Salve and Mit Guy, Jim Fowler, Vice President for Enrollment Management at Salve Regina University in amazing Newport, Rhode Island. From my virtual location on the back steps of Ochre Court, right overlooking the Atlantic Ocean on the Cliff Walk. These sessions are opportunities for us to chat about areas of interest within the university as you learn a little bit more about Salve, and hopefully we can answer many questions for you about our offerings and what separates us from other colleges and universities you may be considering. Tonight's program, I'm very blessed to be joined by two members of our faculty within the sciences, chair of the biology and biochemistry department, Dr. Stephen Symington, and chair of the chemistry department, Dr. Susan Meschwitz. So welcome, both of you. Thank you so much for taking time to be with me this evening.
Thank you, Jim. There's a correction there. Susan is chair of the chemistry and biochemistry department. I'm just chair of the biology department.
Yeah, you make that sound like a small thing.
Well, the whole name, don't forget the whole name though, Steve, biology and biomedical sciences.
Oh,
right?
yes,
So,
yes.
There you go.
We know each other's departments better, apparently.
I think you both have plenty to keep yourselves busy.
Right.
Well, I'd just like to ask each of you to just take a moment to share a little bit about yourselves, your background, maybe what brought you to Salve, and a little bit about your area of research focus, because I'm sure that those that are listening both live and will be looking later will be interested to hear about sort of research at Salve. So, Steve, do you want to go first?
Sure, I'd be happy to. Thank you for the question. I grew up in Massachusetts, Western Mass, in a town called Chicopee, Massachusetts. When I was deciding to go to college, I ended up at the University of Massachusetts. At UMass, I was fortunate enough to get 3 degrees there. My bachelor's degree is in environmental science. I have a master's degree in entomology. That's a little known fact. And I have a PhD in molecular and cellular biology. I have a very diverse background, and that led me to have an area of focus in biochemical toxicology. And specifically, I study how pesticides and other environmental chemicals are absorbed and distributed in the body, and how they reach their target sites and elicit the harmful effects that they do in mammals, with specifically trying to better understand how they work in humans. My most recent project that just recently published on looked at really trying to understand the differences of toxicity between young and old. And what we were able to find in that study is that, strangely enough, adult animals were more sensitive to a family of pesticides called the pyrethroids than juveniles, which was very unexpected. More recently, there's been a shift. A couple of years ago, I took a sabbatical, and now I'm starting to investigate other kinds of environmental chemicals, chemicals like PFAS, imidacloprid, and some other kinds of really commonly used chemicals in the environment. But overall, my really goal is to better understand how these environmental chemicals elicit their harmful effects on humans.
Well, I can see how Salve would be a good place for you to pursue that type of research, given the strong bent within our mission statement towards the critical concerns of mercy, and in particular sustainability and environmental concerns. So I'm sure your students must truly have a good appreciation for that focus.
Yeah, I think our students for sure, an underlying theme with all the students at our university is that there's a desire to serve. And we are able to find students in the sciences that, have the opportunity to serve through their, the commitment to their discipline and the way that they study. And I think many of our students leave our university being researchers in the environmental field.
Great. And Dr. Meschwitz, how about yourself?
Yeah, so hi everyone, I'm Susan Meschwitz, and So let's see, my background. I have been at Salve for about 15 years now, and before that, I also grew up in Massachusetts, and I went to undergrad at Stonehill College. And really, to answer the question as to what brought me to Salve to teach, probably the experience I had at a small undergraduate Catholic university. I mean, I just had such a wonderful experience so that when the position opened up at Salve, I couldn't resist. I knew that that's kind of the environment that I wanted to be in because it was so instrumental in my own education. So it was going to give me that opportunity to also, make a difference in those students' lives. So I majored in chemistry as an undergrad, and then I went on to grad school at Brown University and got my PhD in organic chemistry. Then went on to do a postdoc at Harvard Medical School, where I did a little more molecular pharmacology, and then actually worked in industry for a couple of years in a pharmaceutical company that was designing and developing anti-HIV drugs. But, I think it was really once I started a family and realized that I wanted to have I don't know, a little more flexible schedule and teaching, I thought teaching would be a wonderful opportunity. And so again, I was able to get this position at Salve. And so in terms of my research, let me tell you a little bit about my research focus. So I'm a synthetic organic chemist by training. And currently the focus of my research right now is designing and developing new types of antibiotics. You probably all know that there's quite a problem with antibiotic resistance. And so many of the currently used antibiotics, bacteria are becoming resistant to. And so we need drugs that have new types of mechanisms, new types of action, so that we can avoid that type of resistance. And so in my laboratory, we design and synthesize and test various kinds of compounds that what we're looking to do essentially is rather than kill bacteria, because that's how they develop a resistance, they just are going to mutate to get around that. We are targeting a pathway known as quorum sensing, which is the way that bacteria talk to one another. And so our idea is to be able to just kind of cut off that communication system. They need that communication system to establish infections. And so that's our focus, is to see if we can design compounds. And actually, we also look in nature. I'm a big fan of nature in terms of being really the best pharmacy. And so we look in, like, right, I study honey. I have plants, various medicinal plants that we extract compounds from. And we test these compounds in bacteria to see if there's any indication of being able to inhibit that communication system between bacteria. So that's my background.
And I imagine right now, with everything going on, they must create some really interesting conversations in the classroom as we are thinking about vaccines. I know antibiotics are a little different than vaccines, but there must be a lot of discussion right now about efficacy and the importance of testing and making sure that things are appropriate and safe for exactly some of the reasons behind your research.
Oh, absolutely. And, I was teaching a course last semester, when we ended up having to go online, and a course called medicinal chemistry. Actually, the long name was the organic chemistry of drug design and development, but it's a medicinal chemistry course. But it was fun because I took that opportunity. I mean, there was so much information coming out, about the various companies that were designing medications towards COVID and the vaccine development. And I was able to take that opportunity and have my students do a lot of reading, with that. And they learned quite a bit, just having these various discussions and everything that was going on. And it was so relevant. So it was quite interesting to be able to do that.
And Dr. Symington, I know our offerings within the biological sciences are, there's a number of different emphases that students can pursue. Can you talk a little bit about what the curricular pathways are?
Yeah, our main pathway is students will take a Bachelor of Science degree just in biology. And it's a curriculum that has about 70 to 75 credits, depending on the courses that you take. And it broadly prepares students to, enter into healthcare fields, research worlds, jobs in industry. We actually offer a Bachelor of Arts, which is less credits, around 50 to 54 credits total. And oftentimes students that are taking this are double majoring, and our most common double major is students will take a Bachelor of Arts program along with a Bachelor of Science in Education to become high school science teachers. In addition to that, we have a Bachelor of Science in Medical Technology. It's a 5-year program where you get a Bachelor of Science in Biology with a second Bachelor of Science degree. But we're in the process of making a 4-year exclusive Bachelor of Science in Medical Technology. Students that pursue this degree will be medical technologists, laboratory people at hospitals, and there's a nationwide shortage of this profession. So if you are one that wants to pursue this degree, you're going to have a job. It's going to be well paying. And you can go anywhere in the country, honestly, where there's hospitals. So very, very difficult to find these kinds of people to do these jobs. And more recently, Dr. Meschwitz and I have kind of partnered our departments with the University of St. Joseph to start a 3+3 PharmD program. And students can come here. They can major in biology or biochemistry or chemistry, which is in the chemistry department, spend their first 3 years here at Salve, and then proceed to spend their last 3 years at the University of St. Joseph. So very rigorous, very intense program. But the benefit of that is that students would graduate in 6 years with 2 degrees, a Bachelor of Science and a doctoral degree in pharmacy, which is 2 years shorter than the typical student would. And it's it's a direct path through. We also have minors in neuroscience and a minor in biology, and a variety of different concentrations, including microbiology and environmental sciences.
Wonderful. Dr. Same question to you. What are the offerings within the chemistry program?
Yeah, sure. I mean, similarly with biology, so we offer a Bachelor of Science in Chemistry. And again, just like the BS in biology, that you can use that to go on to either graduate school, into research, industry, or whatnot, whatever your pathway that you desire. We also have a Bachelor of Science in Biochemistry. And again, similarly with being a Bachelor of Science, you can take that and either go on to graduate school or into the field to work. We also offer the BA in chemistry. And again, that is usually coupled with something else. So it's a little less intense, fewer courses. So you have more room to, well, there is a BA in chemistry, just similarly to the biology department with secondary education. So if you want to be a science teacher, that would be the path that you would take. But we've also had students who combined a BA in chemistry with business. So if they have a business, an inkling for business, they would have time to be able to do both of those as well. Dr. Symington did mention the PharmD. In addition to that, there is a joint 3+2 program with Washington University in St. Louis. That's an engineering degree. So you would spend 3 years at Salve and get a BA in chemistry, and then go on to WashU for another 2 years, where you can end up getting a second BS degree, a second degree, a BS in either chemical engineering or biomedical engineering. And that also, in addition to that, the possibility is a 3+3, where you would end up with a master's degree in the engineering at WashU. So if you change that from a 3+2 to a 3+3, if that's what you wanted to do, you have that option as well.
That's amazing. For a university of our size to have so many opportunity pathways is really quite remarkable, and I think really speaks to the quality of our programs and the education that students receive. Dr. Meschwitz, I'll stick with you and sort of ask you a little bit about facilities. The university recently underwent a pretty significant expansion and renovation of our academic building where the sciences are located, great expansion of laboratory facilities. Can you talk a little bit about what facilities are available and what's particularly notable about our laboratories within the Salve community?
Yes, yes, of course. So right with the renovation, I mean, we basically have, state-of-the-art laboratories. And what's really wonderful now is that we have, laboratories for teaching, but also separate research laboratories. So we've got really more space than we used to. State-of-the-art, we've got everything in there that you could possibly need. High-end instrumentation. We've been fortunate enough to be able to, purchase some pieces of equipment that really are high end that you would find in higher institutions. And what's wonderful about that is, we don't have graduate students here. So we have undergraduate students. And so these are the students that are being trained and have the ability to use this instrumentation. So they're getting this really wonderful hands-on training on some of these top pieces of equipment that you'll find in, at Brown or at URI, I mean, just to name a few in Rhode Island. So, and I've also found, when we talk to prospective employers, for instance, when we get phone calls for recommendations for students who are applying to jobs, and I tell them what experience they've had and what instruments we have, I mean, they're really quite impressed. And I think that really gives our students the ability to hit the ground running, because they've been trained on this. And as I said, since we don't have grad students, these are the students that are using this instrumentation either within class. Some of the upper level classes, you're going to be starting to get trained on these instruments, but also in the research that we do with them. And I know we'll probably talk more about the research opportunities later. So I'll wait for that question. But yeah. I think that answered your question.
And Dr. Symington, anything else that's particular to the biology programs that maybe wasn't mentioned?
No, I mean, our facilities are pretty universal across the sciences. I mean, I will just reiterate, they're really wonderful spaces. Our teaching labs in particular have been really outfitted with all sort of modern teaching equipment, the overhead projectors. Now they're really easily remote connected. It's a very easy to work in kind of lab, if that makes any sense at all. Open, kids are not on top of each other. It's a very comfortable space. And I will reiterate too what Dr. Meschwitz said is that the university has been very generous to outfit our labs. It's one thing to have really nice space, but we also have really nice things in our really nice space. And Dr. Mesh was absolutely right. I mean, our students get to, we just don't throw them and say, go use this machine. We train them, we use them in class, and they get to use high-end instrumentations that most undergraduates that go to schools, like particularly at larger universities, never even get to use. And it's really a strength of our program. Our kids from both departments leave what I call they have the chops. They have good working hands, and they're very capable of, entering into a workplace and being able to jump right in, as Dr. Meschwitz said.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, what you were saying about comfort. As the non-scientist here, my observation about our labs is just how bright they are. They're not the stuck in the basement places that I remember as an undergraduate where you just feel like you're in a cave. There's actually room to move, room to operate. It seems like the type of place that would be a joy to learn in. As opposed to feeling like you're stuck in this dark hole, having the fluorescent lights suck your life away.
Yeah, absolutely.
We referenced research a little bit. Certainly lots of colleges and universities reference the opportunity for undergraduate research, but I've certainly found over the course of my career observing higher education that it's one thing to say that you can do research as an undergraduate. It's another thing to sort of deliver on it and deliver on it to a wide variety of students, not just a select few. And from what I've observed, that's really one of the great strengths of Salve is the accessibility of research on the undergraduate level and the opportunity to do either independent research or research through sponsorships, NSF grants, things of that nature, alongside faculty. Can both of you just talk a little bit more about the research opportunities for students?
Mm-hmm. Who wants to go first? Want me to jump in? I'll jump in. So yeah, so actually, so our majors, chemistry and biochemistry majors, are actually required to do research. So they have to do what we call 4 credits of research, and it usually gets spread out over, usually they might start, you know, in their sophomore year to do that required research. And what they normally do is come and talk to each of the faculty members, talk a little bit about their research. They want to, you know, listen to us, and if they express an interest in one project over another, you know, that faculty member will take them under their wing and bring them into the lab. And so, so every student that is a major is going to get that experience. But in addition to the research during the academic year, we also have a wonderful summer research program funded by the faculty members' grants. So all of us are grant funded, and part of that grant funding is student training. Particularly. And so we have a 10-week summer research program where most of the faculty members can take about 3 students for that program. And the student, it's a very intense research program. It's 10 weeks, like almost like a full-time job. I mean, they're there 5 days a week, 9 to 4, working and, you know, being trained one-on-one with the faculty member. And in addition, they're given a stipend, so they're paid to do this. They're also given a place to live, so they're given housing during the summer. I mean, in Newport, I mean, what else could you possibly want, right? To live in Newport during the summer. So yeah, you know, and so these research programs are they're really special, and they're really great opportunities for these students to really get involved in research and to learn those critical thinking skills, independent thinking, you know, really taking the lab experience just one step more. I mean, they're going to learn a lot in the labs that go with the courses as well, but there's just something about really getting into doing some research where, you know, they're working on projects where the answer is not known yet, you know, so they are finding out and doing things for the first time right along with the faculty member. And so then that's a really great experience for them. It really hones their skills and their critical thinking, which is so important.
Dr. Symington, anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, so in biology, about 85% of our graduates will participate in some research process. And so, of course, we have a summer research program too, just like Dr. Meschwitz described. It's a great way to build community too. Students, at the culmination of that, our students will present their work at a local conference. Really, we've seen just huge leaps in our student development if they participate in that summer program. Our students also participate during the academic year. If they are if they take 4 credits of what we call an independent research with one of our faculty members, they'll receive credit for 1 elective in our major. The other thing that I want to do is I want to sort of talk about the things that we're doing now. Within the last couple of years, we've been really concerned about access and trying to get the research experience to more students. And we've developed a number of courses that we call CURE labs, and CURE stands for course-based undergraduate research experiences. And so what these are laboratory courses that sort of deliver the same techniques that you were supposed to learn in that course. However, they're delivered under a different context. They're delivered under a context of doing hypothesis-driven experimentation. So one of my colleagues, Dr. Ann Reed, actually has a CURE course for her microbiology course, where she has partnered with the Newport Arboretum. And basically, she is working to create a microbiome library of all the different bacteria that are around different trees in the Arboretum. And so our students are going out, taking samples, characterizing the bacteria, and then doing larger genomic analysis on that. And it's a really great partnership between students doing research, students working for the community, and our faculty actually still teaching the techniques that they would normally learn in class. We have a variety of classes like that now. We have a biotechniques class where we teach them how to do CRISPR, where we teach students how to do CRISPR. We have a neuroscience class where we have this other kind of course-based undergraduate research experience. Many of our labs are moving in that direction to sort of give the opportunity for more students to have this, deeper dive into hypothesis-driven experimentation, which is really at the heart of at least biology.
Well, I think that experience in empowering students to understand that research is something that's attainable. I think sometimes it's very easy for students coming out of high school into the college setting to think, oh gosh, do they have the intelligence? Do I have the wherewithal to do research? Because they envision the research scientist as being this genius level person. Now, you both probably are genius level, but it's the idea that, part of it is the practice of it to learn how to do it, how to make it happen, how to make it a reality. I worked for a little while for a hospital, working for a residency program, and they were doing research there. And I was amazed when I came to Salve and came to an SRU day for the first time to see the type of poster presentations that our students are doing, and seeing that they were doing things that looked very similar to what I was seeing in the hospital setting with medical residents.
I have a really funny story about that actually involves a student that sort of crossed both of our department. A couple of years ago, we had a student named Heather Comboy who was a chemistry student, and she came in as a freshman. She really wanted to get involved with research, but she wanted to be a toxicologist, so she came and sort of did work with me. She, in one of her summer research programs, she presented her work at a local conference, and someone came up to her and said, "Hey, I'm looking for postdocs. I'd like to hire you after you graduate." And she most famously looked at this guy and said, "I'm only an undergraduate." So then he said, "Well, I want you to come to my graduate school." But, that's just kind of, it's not just her. We've had a number of students that have been like that, that they're really, if they do research for a while, they're really doing, upper level projects and like master's level work, and gaining some experience that just can't be done when you're not in the laboratory.
Yeah.
So, Dr. Symington, I'm going to ask you this next question because usually it's from the biological sciences that students that are interested in the healthcare fields tend to find themselves seeing as a pathway to medical school, veterinary school, PT programs, other forms of healthcare programs. How does Salve help those students prepare for and ultimately gain admission to those types of postgraduate programs?
So I'll tell you 3 reasons why, and it's our curriculum, it's our advising / mentoring, and it's our out of the classroom experiences. When it comes to our curriculum, at least in biology, what's embedded into our standard curriculum is all the courses that you would need to sit for your national exam. If you follow them in the sequence that we recommend, all those courses will be completed by the end of your junior year. Which puts you in a position to take your national exams in the summertime between your junior and senior year. In theory, finish your applications before you come to school as a semester or as a senior, and then hopefully interview in the wintertime. So our curriculum sets up to be that way. When it comes to faculty advising, faculty mentoring, I think the university has a position where we have a health professions advisor, and her name is Dr. Kim Koreski. She's a doctor of podiatry. She's a licensed doctor of podiatry, and she services all the university, and she will be a secondary advisor to all students that indicate that they want to go into any of the health professional schools, and this includes med school, vet school, PA, PT, DO school, anything like that. And so for those students, they'll actually have 2 levels of advising. They'll have a faculty member in whatever their department is. We even had a recent student go to med school that was in our theology department. And so they're advised in their major by their faculty mentor. And that's the individual that's helping them choose their courses each semester. But Dr. Koreski will also meet with the student really regularly. She organizes different kinds of events like, MCAT testing practice day. She organizes days to go to the tumor board and visit. Just a variety of different out of the classroom kind of experiences. She also is the mentor for the pre-health club. And, and she has a list. She can kind of identify to the student all the requirements for that particular health profession field. And more importantly, she can actually she can look at the student's profile and how they're going and compare them to what admitted, students look like for med school, for vet school. And then she can give advice around that. Maybe you match the profile very well and you'll probably get accepted pretty easily. But if you're lacking in an area, she can help identify what that area is and intervene with ways to try to boost that. And many times it's actually patient care hours. And so those hours have become so critical, particularly in the PA world. Some programs now are asking up to 2,000 hours, which is really very impossible to get if you're also an undergraduate student that's doing a full-time class load and working and things like that. But she cultivates different kind of internship connections, and she's working to try to help students with those patient care hours, or if they already have connections in their home, trying to help formalize those relationships to get them, course credit or help them document it. She's just a great resource. And lastly, I'll just say the other thing is sort of these out of the classroom experiences. We've just talked about research pretty extensively. And if you want to do research at Salve, you're going to be able to get involved somewhere. But also we have a whole bunch of service learning opportunities throughout campus. More and more, we're cultivating different kinds of internships. So there's lots of outside the classroom opportunities that you can do. And also along that line, our core that really values the human condition really supports, sort of the soft skills that are really required nowadays for entry into a lot of those health profession skills. I mean, I know our students have taken courses in medical ethics, literature, medicine, philosophy of the human, a variety of different courses that I think really add to their what would become their bedside manner. I think it's a real secret to our university in that regard, that our core, depending on the courses that you choose, can help develop those skills.
Yeah, I think that's a really great point. From my experience with medical school review boards, they absolutely are more and more interested in not just the strong pre-med background and the strong performance in it, but bringing in people that truly are going to translate to quality bedside physicians not just the strong scientific practitioners, and having that combination is incredibly important. Dr. Meschwitz, you like me have sort of had that peripheral med school experience. Any other advice that you have for the student that's thinking about medical school or veterinary school or one of the other health profession pathways?
No, Dr. Symington, spoke to all the important aspects, and the how lucky we are to have Dr. Kureski too, somebody like that to guide those students, every step of the way, is important and it's valuable for them. So they're in good hands.
Yeah. What are some of the other career pathways for a student that's coming out of one of the chemistry programs or some of the other science programs at Salve?
Just thinking about some of our recent graduates, some of our students will go to grad school. We currently have about 4 students pursuing a PhD in various places, in various different aspects of chemistry, with different goals in the end. We have one student who wants to start her own cosmetics line, and so she's over at URI right now in the chemistry department, but also doing some research in the pharmacy school, so pharmaceutical sciences. So we have another recent PhD grad, ended up going into a biotech company. So, either they're going to go to grad school because they want to do research, or many of them will get jobs right from graduating in entry level positions. Many times they will start as quality control chemists, but they get a lot of good experience, as I said, using the instrumentation. And that's why when they apply for these jobs, they really look good. They know that they can really hit the ground running because they've had this experience. So I'm trying to think. So I mentioned grad school, or they go right to a job. We've had students go to dental school, pharmacy school. Just trying to think of some of our recent graduates. But so that's pretty much, I think, where they're heading after they graduate from here in our department.
Yeah, I imagine there's probably a few that either double major or pick up a minor in business and follow the pharmaceutical pathway as well.
Right, and that's why I mentioned we have that BA in chemistry, so there's more flexibility there. I think we have a current student right now who's a senior who started out, as a BS chemistry major, but really was trying to fit in those business courses because that was really, he had a lot of interest in that. And so, switching to the BA track, was able to also combine that with his business interest and getting a degree in business as well. And who knows where he'll take that, maybe start his own company, There's a lot of different opportunities once you start getting those various degrees.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that a lot of people don't understand about the majors in the sciences, kind of similar to the majors in mathematics, that they are foundational to so many different industries, that there's absolutely a research pathway, absolutely a health professions pathway, but there are also so many other pathways that maybe students can even consider. I know I have a close friend that's a patent lawyer. And her undergraduate degree in chemistry was the foundation for a career in patent law, because she had to have such a strong technical background. Dr. Symington, any other degree paths that are specific to biological sciences?
No, I think our students really kind of compete in the same kind of worlds. And a typical graduating class will have some students sort of working in industry, I'll give you a snapshot. Our last class, we had a couple students go to grad school. Once Lucy Ford was one of our graduates that, again, she kind of did a whole bunch of things. She actually did research for Dr. Meschwitz, and she's in a toxicology program at Texas A&M. Then we have a couple other individuals, a student named Chandler DeCruz, who is working at the Broad Institute, and he's doing COVID testing. We have a lot of students actually end up working in, we're not far from Boston, and a lot of students end up working in sort of that biotech world up in Boston at a variety of those kinds of companies. And of course, we do have a number of students that will pursue. We have 2 or 3 students that are going off to do from last year's class that will be entering into PA programs next year. A lot of our students that are in the healthcare world end up being CNAs or EMTs upon graduation because they're trying to get their clinical hours that they need. And then another thing that I think is emerging as a really cool place to land after graduation are something called post-bac programs. And we had a graduate from last year named Cole Tyndall end up working at the NIH in a post-bac program. We had 3 or 4 kids actually go there, but they're really short-term training programs that really can expose you to this huge world and build your network. And yeah, and I think there's a number of those kinds of places, and I'm going to be pushing our graduates to pursue these offers more and more, because it's tough to go right to jump into med school right after you've just finished your undergraduate degree.
Well, it's funny you say that. I know oftentimes I end up talking with some students. Every year I end up on a thread on some college search network of families looking for these accelerated med school pathway programs. And I have to sort of say, whoa, take a step back. Med school's hard enough. And, at least from what I've observed, both personally and through friends, that not having that sort of 4-year experience, trying to accelerate that 4-year experience to 3, and then doing medical school and then doing residency is a great way to just burn yourself out. You sort of need that extra year of undergraduate as a buffer.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, and just maturity too. If I'm honest, a lot of growth occurs during your 4 years here, and yeah, that's really important.
Yeah. Do either of you want to share anything about some of the research that your colleagues are doing? You both have some really remarkable colleagues in each of your departments that are doing some really fascinating things.
Yeah, sure. So we have Dr. Munge in the chemistry department. His area of research is developing through nanotechnology cancer biomarkers. So the idea is to be able to detect cancer at an earlier stage. And so you're looking for these proteins in blood at very tiny quantities, hence the nanoscale. And the idea here too is, this would be point of care type of detection. So that's Dr. Munge. Dr. Aruda in our department is the physical chemist, and his area of research is in energy and batteries. And so, alternative forms of energy are so important for our future, for the future of the environment. But one of the most important things is being able to store that energy. I mean, it can be produced, but you need to be able to store it. And that's where his focus is, looking at certain chemical cells, if you will, or batteries that can store that energy long term. We have a new faculty member who's the biochemist in the department, Dr. Papale, whose her focus of research will be she's just come across a protein called STAR6 that is implicated in the development of Alzheimer's. And so she'll be focusing her research in that area of Alzheimer's, which, again, is another hot area. And then finally, Dr. Higgins, Dr. Kadeen Higgins, she's our inorganic chemist. And so she focuses on the role of that metals play in biology and in medicine. And in particular, she's studying a particular protein in Mycobacterium tuberculosis, and looking at trying to understand how these proteins regulate the role of metals and the level of metals in bacteria. And so once you can understand that can also become a potential target for future development of drugs against certain bacterial infections.
Dr. Symington?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do my faculty as good a justice as Dr. Meschwitz did, but I'll try. We have first of all, I'll say my faculty is very young. All the members of my department are women except me, which is, I think it's really important for our students at Salve to see young, successful women in these leadership roles. So Lindsay Green Gavrilidis, who's our most recent member of the department, she's a marine biologist and she studies seaweed. And specific, she's looking at how different kinds of seaweed populations can release these chemicals that actually alter oyster production, oyster growth. That's one aspect of her research. But she's the photosynthesis girl, as she refers to herself.
And folks that have never been to Rhode Island that may be listening to this may not understand how big an industry oysters is.
Yeah, it's true. And how much of a problem seaweed is, particularly on our first beach. Another faculty member in my department, her name is Dr. Heather Axon. Her area of research is animal behavior. And she's actually looking at different mechanisms by which climate change is altering animal behavior. She's using Drosophila flies as a model system to do that, but she also looks at social immunity, so how different kinds of diseases can be transmitted in social insect populations, and she uses ants for that. I'm trying to go down through the offices. Dr. Belinda Barbagallo is also relatively new to our university. She's a neuroscientist. She is looking at how synaptic connections she is looking at mapping synaptic connections in the brain, particularly those that undergo temperature stress. And she's also have started some new projects here where she's looking at how different kinds of environmental chemicals can alter neuronal development and something called metabolic stress. We also have another faculty member, Dr. Ann Reed. She's our microbiologist. Her expertise is in food safety, and she studies the mechanisms by which bacteria will colonize plants. So we always have salmonella outbreaks on lettuce or other kinds of fruits. She really studies the biological mechanisms by which that occurs, with the hopes of being able to provide better food protection. I did lie. We also have a part-time member of our department who's named Dr. Jameson Chase. He's not a woman, but he's also chair of the Cultural and Environmental and Global Studies Department. But his area of expertise is bird migration patterns and how they've changed in response to climate change.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned Dr. Chase, because I think it really illustrates how, yes, there are great opportunities within individual science curriculums, but that our programs are also very interdisciplinary and very collaborative, as evidenced by having you both here tonight to sort of do this together. So I'm really appreciative that we can make that point as we come down to the end of our hour together. For the folks that are listening in live, if you have any questions, we're coming up on our time, so feel free to throw a quick question in the chat box or the Q&A box if there's something specific that you didn't hear about that you may want to know. But I will sort of end the hour by asking Dr. Meschwitz and Dr. Symington each, what do you enjoy most about teaching within the Salve community and the Salve students? Dr. Symington, I'll start with you.
There's a lot of things, but if I had to put it on one thing, I think I really, really enjoy the Mercy community and the relationships that actually come from that. There's so many really positive things that happen on our campus. Is from the faculty to student kind of interactions are wonderful. We really get to know our students. It's very oftentimes students will tell me their story and then something will come up and I'll be in a different place and I'm like, oh my God, that really fits so-and-so. And we're able to help make connections for them. Just recently, one of the students graduated and he was kind of interviewed for one of our our publications, and he made reference to me by saying, he was a poor kid, and he was the first student to ever have an education, a college education in his family. He actually is the one that went off to do the NIH postbac, and he was really grateful that I helped him get him to that place. And that's a very rewarding thing, for sure, to really help students see new potentials in themselves, and then also help them realize it. And it really all stems from our Mercy community, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think what I have definitely observed about the faculty across Salve, and what I think differentiates us from some other, particularly larger colleges and universities, is while all of our faculty have these intense and really exciting research focuses, their first focus is on undergraduate education and on mentorship, and making sure that the student experience is a strong one and that they have the support to really achieve those goals that they've set out for themselves, that they aren't marginalized in favor of, oh, this is my research and teaching is secondary. And it's, I'm always in awe of how you all find that balance. It's really quite amazing. Dr. Meschwitz, anything else that you want to add?
Dr. Symington really stated it well, and I just reiterate, I think what I like most about teaching here at Salve is, first and foremost, the wonderful community, right, of faculty and of staff and of the students. But yeah, and I think being that small university and the small class size, that one-to-one relationship and mentorship that we can have with our students really, that is so gratifying. And knowing that you can, be that mentor and make that difference in a student's life. I mean, there really isn't any better feeling than that at all. To get that close relationship. I mean, I've attended students' weddings after they've graduated. I've attended baby showers. I mean, these are lifelong relationships that I'll have and they'll have, and it just means a lot to me.
Nicole is asking a really great question, and what she's asking is she's looking at Salve for next fall, and she has a strong interest in biology, but in particular writing about research or writing about biology in general. And she's wondering if pursuing a minor in journalism or creative writing would be beneficial.
Sorry, I was muted there. I think that's really one of those places where the BA of our programs can come into play, and maybe not be a minor, but maybe actually be a double major. Several years ago, something similar had happened where we actually had an art student that was also a biology student. And I can't remember her name, Jim, maybe you'll know, but she ended up doing all the illustrations for one of our faculty members' book that he was writing at the time. And it was really a nice melding of skills. And she was an art major, and I think she was a BA in biology to do that. And I think that's a place where would be a very comfortable home. And also there'd be some flexibility there, because for the first year that you're here, you would be taking the same exact courses in the BA or the BS program. And so if you change your mind along the way, you could, while you're here, you can just make sure you enroll in Jennifer McClanahan's creative writing class, a class that I've taken. Actually, it's a really good class. And you can really, while you're here during that first year, explore some things, and maybe you'll be able to fine tune sort of that, what you're really, really looking for. I can tell you, I've taken a couple of our courses. I'm a hopeful in the writing biological science fiction kind of world, and I'd love to be your partner if you do come. We can start a sort of writing book club with our writing department.
Next, Michael Crichton.
Yeah.
Well, and I love the fact that you brought up the example of the student that had been the double major in art, because she has such a remarkable career now as one of the leading illustrators for scientific texts, in part because of that experience, which is just terrific. So, and I can't say enough about our English department as well. Our English department is really quite wonderful, and has spawned a number of graduates that are doing some terrific things in journalism, in creative writing. So that's the beauty of the liberal arts experience, and the fact that underpinning all of our curricular programs, whether they be pre-professional or more traditional liberal arts, all of our students are going to get that strong liberal arts core experience that's going to give them that broad foundational set of skills that will allow that adaptability and that shifting of focus if you want to be more research, or if you see yourself more on the writing side of things. You're going to find a home at Salve, definitely. Well, seeing no more questions, and knowing that Dr. Meschwitz and Dr. Symington, I'm sure, still have work to do this evening, I just want to say thank you both so much for taking time out. There's no doubt that our programs are exceptional, and more students need to find them, because when we look at the success of our grads from these programs, we know that they're getting the right training that they need to really launch out into the world and achieve their goals. And so to everybody that's online tonight listening, and to anybody that's looking at the recording, I strongly urge you to submit that application for admission. The early action and early decision deadlines are coming up on November 1st. Please note that those are the application deadlines to get your Common App in. If you're worried about supporting materials like letters of recommendation and things of that nature, and your school counselor may be backed up because things are kind of crazy in schools right now, don't worry about it. Get the application form in, and then we'll worry about getting your supporting documents in. Certainly there'll be plenty of other opportunities for you to engage with us and engage with our amazing faculty over the course of the next few months as you explore colleges and universities. If you like what you saw here tonight, be sure to follow me at Salve and Guy on Twitter mostly, and sometimes Instagram. You can also through Twitter find my YouTube channel, which has recordings of all of these Seaside chat programs, so you can learn more about the university. Again, Dr. Meschwitz, Dr. Symington, thank you for joining this evening, and good night, everybody.
Good night. Thank you.
Pleasure.